Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Teaches Romeo and Juliet. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Act 5, Scene 1, which is the very famous scene where Romeo finds out wrongly that Juliet has died and plans to take action. So let's get started. As always, a quick plot summary for you. So obviously the last scene and the last act has been in Verona with all of the action going on with Juliet. So now we need to move over to Mantua where we will find Romeo. And unlike Romeo, he's actually in quite a good mood. And he's been dreaming of his Juliet, dreaming about dying, funnily enough, but actually being awoken by Juliet's kisses. So yeah, very unusual. Actually starts with a kind of positivity. Why is that there? Massive juxtaposition with the horrifying news that Balthazar brings that Juliet is dead and is buried in the tomb, which is of course what Balthazar thinks to be true. He is simply explaining what he has seen with his very eyes, just like everyone else in Verona. This obviously causes Romeo to just be beside himself with not just grief, but also rage. It triggers anger in him, where the most famous lines he shouts, "I defy you, stars," which we'll obviously look at in a little bit more detail. He immediately starts planning. What's he going to do? How's he going to sort this out? And he remembers an apothecary. He goes to this apothecary, a very, very poor man, and he buys some poison because his plan is to kill himself and be reunited with his Juliet in death. To start off just by having a little look at Romeo's dream. I said before that there is a kind of sense of positivity here. Now, the Elizabethans really did actually believe in their dreams, and they believed that dreams had meanings. And actually, if you look at the irony here in this moment, he says, "If I may trust the flattering truth of sleep, my dreams possess some joyful news at hand." Ah, the juxtaposition with the truth. My bosom's lord sits lightly in his throne. This is a metaphor for love. So love is sitting, making him feel bright and light. He even acknowledges himself that it is an unaccustomed spirit, but he's lifted above the ground with cheerful thoughts. So love is kind of keeping him high and light and breezy. He's not full of his usual melancholy. And then we have this a little bit more description of the dream. Note the way that it's a kind of inversion of the future. It's obviously foreshadowing. He dreams that his lady finds him dead. Strange dream that gives a dead man leave to think. So this is obviously foreshadowing. It is in fact what happens. She does find him dead. But the inversion is that she was able to breathe such life with kisses in his lips that he revived and was an emperor. So obviously this is where the inversion kicks in, because that is exactly what she cannot do. So this is really, really, really foreshadowing the tragic end of the play. Obviously reality kicks in pretty quickly. Balthazar comes in. And after a little moment of indecision where he says, "Then she is well and nothing can be ill," just one little line that kind of has the audience thinking, is he going to tell him? Like, is he going to come clean with what's actually going on? He then explains, "Her body sleeps in Capel's monument and her immortal part with angels lives." Note the juxtaposition between the body and the soul, the immortal part, that means the soul, and the way that that is juxtaposed. So it's like the body, the bit on earth, that one is dead, that, well, sleeping, nice bit of personification there, or metaphor, but her soul is with the angels live. So it echoes ever so slightly the reassuring advice stroke tell-off that Friar Lawrence gave the family about, well, actually the most important bit is her soul is with the angels, her soul is with heaven. And then you get the reality. "I saw her laid low in her kindred's vault and presently took post to tell it to you." Note the kind of, again, sense of haste here. Presently took post. Immediately he saw it and he went. Another example of haste getting in the way. And this leads to possibly one of the big dramatic lines of the play. "Then I defy you, stars." Why does he defy the stars? What are the stars representative for? Of course it is fate. Again, the very fact at the beginning in the prologue they're referred to as star-crossed lovers. So in this moment when he shouts this exclamative and personifies the stars so beautifully here, then I defy you stars, he's saying I challenge you fate. You know, I'm not going to accept this fate. Okay, and it leads him to take action. This is like a defining moment, like it was for Juliet scenes before, that defining moment that meant that she was like, right, take action, let's go, take this potion. This is his defining moment. But tragically and ironically, it is him trying to defy fate because he thinks fate is trying to keep them apart. So he's like, yeah, no, I defy you. I'm still going to be with her. I'll kill myself and I'll be with her. But actually, had he not tried to defy fate and just left well alone, then he would have been reunited with her, adding again to the horrible tragedy of this play. Hey, quick note on the apothecary, because people have different kind of interpretations of the apothecary. Let's look at the way that Romeo describes like his recollection of him. He says, I do remember an apothecary, and hereabout he dwells, which late I noted in tattered weeds, with overwhelming brows, culling of simples. Meagre were his looks, sharp misery had worn him to the bones, and in his needy shop a tortoise hung, an alligator stuffed, and other skins of fish, etc., etc. So it is clear that the apothecary is presented as an impoverished character, but look at the language that sort of connotes death here as well. Yes, there's a sense of decay. Yes, there's a sense of chaos. But, you know, look at the personification and the metaphor here. Sharp misery had worn him to the bones. He's a skeletal creature. And in his shop, there are all of these kind of images of death. There are the skins of dead animals hanging everywhere. So some people read the apothecary as a kind of personification of death. I'm not sure that I do. I think that the whole representation of him being close to death is a sign of his impoverishment, which you can also see here, the fact that he lives in tattered weeds and his looks are meagre. But also it says contempt and beggary hangs upon thy back. So that's the contempt of others. So people are contemptuous of him or full of contempt for him. Beggary hangs upon thy back. So again, that metaphor or personification of this idea of poverty clinging to him. The world is not thy friend, nor the world's law. The world affords no law to make thee rich. Look at the anaphora here. Look at the forms of repetition here, reminding us that this man is an outcast, that he is shunned by the world, and the world does not allow him a life. So I think this is really why Shakespeare has included this moment with the apothecary in this particular detail, because I think he's making a comment about status. And I think you can argue that status is one of the big reasons for the tragic end of the play. If everyone was not wrapped up in the concept of reputation and honour and what it means to be a certain member of a family, perhaps this wouldn't have happened. Note that when Romeo pays the apothecary for the poison, he says, there is thy gold, worse poison to men sold. So the gold is a worse poison than the poison he's holding. Note that metaphor, saying that money, status, wealth, etc., is like the fountain of all evil here. He says that gold does more murders in this loathsome world than these poor compounds. So then he's saying money does worse. And I think he's probably absolutely right, because let's think back. What is it that makes Capulet want to push the wedding forward with Juliet and Paris? It's about status. It's about making advancements. That's what the friar refers to it as, for Juliet, in light of a prominent member of their family being killed. Money is what is motivating men like Capulet, which is one of the reasons for Romeo and Juliet's demise. Yeah, so when Romeo says, I sell thee poison, thou hast sold me none, he's almost saying, it's not your fault, mate, it's not your fault. In fact, I am the one doing the crime, because I am giving you this poison that is money. This scene, just like so many others, is again about haste, hasty decisions, impulsive decisions. This comes from just slightly earlier on in the scene. Sorry, I've not done it chronologically, but I wanted to end here. So when he talks to the apothecary and asks for the dram of poison, the thing that he asks is not just for it to kill him, but he says that he wants, when he takes it, that he will fall dead, and the trunk may be discharged of breath, that's a metaphor for his body, discharged of breath, so no more breath, as violently as hasty powder fired doth hurry from the fatal cannon's womb. Check out this metaphor. Okay, this is about gunpowder. He's saying he wants to die as quickly, in this simile, as violently as hasty powder, as quickly as the spark when a cannon is fired. Note the metaphor there from the fatal cannon's womb, really kind of stark juxtaposition again between death and life there. So again, it's like, do it quickly, do it quickly, do it quickly. And this is so powerful and so poignant because, of course, we must think about the friar's lines when he was warning Romeo about his marriage to Juliet, and he said, "These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume." So it's almost like the friar's words were like a kind of, almost like a prophecy. You know, it was certainly foreshadowing. And here again, we've got Romeo using the words of the friar, but not taking heed of his advice. He is again barreling towards his own tragic demise. Okay, that's it from me. Just a quick word about fate. Quick word about themes. We've obviously got love and death wrapped together as always in this scene. His love for Juliet, meaning that he wants to end his life so that he can love her in death. We've got the apothecary at the point of death because of poverty, offering death as a means for his own life. Such extraordinary juxtaposition. Well done, Shakespeare. Clearly we have fate, the challenge of fate and that bitter irony. We've got the notion of haste, and again that idea of speed barreling forward. And I've put poverty in here. Maybe what I should have written is status. You can say poverty or status. Again, being this sort of background motivator, or this underlying reason for a lot of what is going wrong here in this play. God, it's another depressing one, isn't it? I will end with being positive and say thank you for watching. I hope that was useful. I hope it was interesting. If you've got any questions, whack them in the comments. I will do my best to respond to you. Likewise, if you've got any requests, whack them there too. Hope everything's going well with your revision. That's it from me. Oh, subscribe if you haven't already. Click the button and then you'll get notifications of when my videos are ready for you. That's it. Thank you so much again. Happy revising.